Even banks in Kenya are undervalued. So what I'm trying to say here in this issue of the market, it will be a tragedy for Kenya to value this transaction based on the market. Because even private companies, take for example, banks. I want to give an example of a bank like KCB, where the government has a 19% stake. The current valuation of KCB is less than 230 billion shillings. It is around 0.7 to book value. Meaning, if you disband KCB today, the money you would get, it is trading in the market at 75% of the value. Would we go to the market and say we are selling this company at market price really? Even I will give the final example of a company that has no government attachment. Take a company like Diamond Trust Bank, a company which is a bank with 100 billion shillings in shareholders' funds or core capital. If you buy the share today in the market, it is trading at 32% of that value. Would you go to Happy Bank to tell them to sell you the share in the market price? Would they agree? It has never happened in the market and elsewhere. Currently in the US, there is an ongoing bid of a company called Warner Brothers Discovery, the owner of CNN. But they are not selling in the market. There is a bid, and the final bid is two companies, one called Paramount and Netflix. Then, this jargon about the market, a sophisticated market like the US is seeing the value of in competitive bidding in a private company. But here in Kenya, we have been cornered by our buyers, and we are now talking the language of market price. It will be wrong, and history will not judge us very well if you continue with this transaction with this kind of consideration. Second, I have already heard of that process. Chair, 6 billion shares we are selling with our population. It means the government is selling my 100 shares as did in Europe. If you divide the shares we are selling, Chair, and you give Kenyans their share, everyone in this hall, because you are all Kenyans, today will be allocated 100 shares. So we must look at it that way. So my 100 shares, what is the process that has been taken for the buyer to be identified? What was the process? How did you one day wake up and decide we are going to sell to the current buyer? I will highlight just a few because I know there will be questions. Let me go to the next one. There is something in the market for any transaction to work. For any transaction to work efficiently, Chair, there is something called information symmetry. Now, we are selling our stake of 15% to a company who is already inside Safaricom, who are already having board members. So definitely, they already have a step ahead of any other person who would think of buying our stake because of the information asymmetry. That is something else that we have to look at. Chair, allow me so that I go, this other point I think is the main one that brought me here. So before I go to that one, this issue of valuation, let me just recap a little bit in 1 minute. So, beyond the market, can we get the government of Kenya, when they conceptualized this issue of selling our stake, which valuation methods did they employ? Who did they hire to do the valuation? When did they hire those people? Because listening to the proceedings in the previous appearances, I heard about KCB and a framework contract. But Chairman, I would want to see that framework contract because I've been listening so that I don't waste your time. And
Mheshimiwa, I think, yes, Treasury did make that, and as a committee, we have requested for that framework. So, and I'm sure as a member of Parliament, you will definitely have access to that once it's right.
Thank you very much, Chair. You know the reason I'm asking that, Chair? The day of the announcement of this deal, it became unwholesome. This is not how even transactions have been done previously. You come and bombard the market with information, and then immediately you're already announcing the price. So who determined that price? Who are these people who are hired to determine this price? That is something we have to interrogate. So there are various variations. That is what I'm trying to arrive at. In telcos, you can do EBITDA times, depends on how many times it is. But let me use the most simple manner and parameter of valuing a company as diversified as Safaricom PLC. Chairman, if you want, the easiest is price of earning ratio. It's called PE ratio. Safaricom, remember this financial year, they are having a blockbuster increment in profit. Chair. So, we are selling our cow just immediately when it is coming out of the woods. What do I mean about the woods? Conveniently, the market has been bearish, but Safaricom has even been more bearish. For this reason, you are building a flat here. We have a company, let's say, called ABC Limited. You are building a flat which you're already collecting rent. And that rent, you used it to build another flat. So the person looking at the bottom line will see that all the money you made in your first flat is already building the second one. So there will be no much profit. So our flat here is Ethiopia. We went to Ethiopia, Safaricom went to Ethiopia. Licenses alone, one license was 850 million USD. The other one was 150 million USD. You've already sunk 100 billion USD in Ethiopia on licenses alone. I have not talked about towers. They have done thousands of towers in Ethiopia. So that company, before it went to Ethiopia, because my main point is around valuation, in 2021, the share price was 45 shillings. And the market valuation of Safaricom PLC in 2021 was 1.8 trillion shillings. 2021. It has since invested in Ethiopia. Yes, it was bleeding, but the bleeding of cash in Ethiopia, according to Safaricom themselves, in the release of the last financial year, they are anticipating by next financial year, they are breaking even operationally. How convenient is this then, that we come just when Safaricom will start adding into the bottom line, and then, surprisingly, we want to sell our stake, but also basing it on the vagaries that Safaricom has gone through called markets. So in terms of PE ratio, Chair, Safaricom, the kind of profit they make this year, their PE ratio by March, because they close their books in March, will be around 16.1. PE ratio measures, if you rely on dividend payment and the company pays 100% of dividends, how long would it take you to recover your investment? In terms of Safaricom, the PE ratio by the closure of the financial year in March will be 16.1 years. Now look at this chair. The peers, take for example Orange. Orange PE ratio is over 30. You take that years. Take any other globally. Just do your homework, but let me zero in into themselves. The guys who are buying us. Bharti Airtel is like 39. The guys who are buying us, the best their PE ratio has been is 40. The best. The recent one is negative, because at the group level, they are making losses. So that's why they went for a celebration after leaving Kenya, because they knew, based on that parameter alone, they are buying us, they are actually getting us for free. Chair, I want to go to the main point. And Chairman, my pleading is this. If there is one point I would indulge the committee to just dig deeper, it is this one I'm giving. Chairman, in any transaction, Honorable Kaluma is a lawyer, I'm sure he knows. Any commercial lawyer knows. In any transaction, the detail is not even in the price. The detail is in something called quotation precedent. Quotations precedent. Quotations precedent is like I am buying a shamba. So I'm buying some piece of land in Migori. So when I'm buying this piece of land, part of the condition, let's say I'm buying it for 2 million shillings per acre. But the condition precedent, I'm told, we think there might be gold here. In case there is gold, the condition precedent we underwrite there, I will always have half of the revenue from that gold. Chairman, that supersedes even the consideration. I invite this committee because I know what I'm talking about is the fact. Kenya is losing over 100 billion Kenya shillings on quotation precedent alone. And the Communications Authority is the bigger conveyor of these quotations precedent. Licenses that were due last year, including the main licenses, which I have submitted in my memorandum. Like the network facilities, the one that deals with network facilities, which is Tier 1. Chairman, who authorized the Communications Authority to commit to give a discount to Safaricom in the renewal of 5 licenses, which some I have tabulated in my memorandum? That Kenya in that respect is losing close to 100 billion Kenya shillings on conditions precedent. Things we have already promised the buyer. We have told them, you buy us out, you'll pay half the license fee. Half the license fee in terms of billions of shillings. Money enough to make basic education in Kenya free today. So the Communications Authority, the management, went ahead to commit Kenya to a loss of over close to 100 billion Kenya shillings on conditions precedent. The board had not met when the management of CA did that. And I would want them to table to this committee when the board of CA met to actually discuss about not any other matter, the conditions precedent that we have given to the buyers where Kenya is losing over 100 billion shillings. So we are here talking about 2 or 4 billion, but the net amount of money we are actually getting as Kenya is 104 billion, because 100 billion shillings is already lost in conditions precedent. Chairman, if there is one thing that you have to stop is that one, because there is no basis. Secondly, licenses that were to be guaranteed or given for 15 years, all of a sudden, the Communications Authority gives an additional length of time of up to 25 years. Chairman, all of us here.
Point of order, Chair. Yes, what's your point of order?
Chair, would on the reference to the page of the presentation so that we vote, because the presentation is making is very important. On what page?
I decided not to follow the memoranda page by page because I leave it for record, but the one I'm referring to is on page 4. Can I continue, Chair?
Mheshimiwa Kaluma, did you have, what was your?
Yeah, Chair, it is confirmed it's on condition precedent.
Okay. Go ahead, Mheshimiwa Ndindi.
So, Chairman, I was saying this. Some of the licenses that other players in the market are getting for 15 years, the buyer cornered us as Kenya to put on a length of 25 years. Members, my brothers and sisters, we are here committing our country for the next 25 years. And I'd want all of us to add 25 years to the age that we already have. And we commit that we can continue answering these questions, that we committed Kenya to a loss of 100 billion, that you are willing to answer that question until, if you are 40, you are 65. And what is the basis of even this condition precedent? It is just absurd, Chair. And this must stop. And some of these conversations that were done, that we take this discussion and this transaction so light that we were doing phone calls. Phone calls where Kenya is losing 100 billion shillings that make this letter to the... You know, when the transaction happened, Chair, it was a hurry because I thought this is the only person who can bail us out because we are nearing election, we need money. So that issue then...
Yeah, point of...
Yes, Mheshimiwa Ruto, what is your point of order?
I wish Mheshimiwa, when he said doing phone calls is something of material, probably you would substantiate that, like inform them. Thank you.
Mheshimiwa Ndidi.
Thank you very much, Chair.
I think just for
at the right time.
No, I think at the right time, but for now, I think it's best to just withdraw that phone call so that we just make progress on the matter that we're here for.
I can't withdraw, Chair, even if I'm to end my discussion here. Because my presentation today, history will prove me right. I know, and I'll table at the right time.
But you see, you've mentioned it in this committee, and once something is mentioned on this committee and the member has clearly asked for the substantiation, if you cannot provide that at the moment, it's best, as you said, when you have that opportunity to present it again, then you can come up with the substantiation. But for now, I'll kindly and respectfully ask you to withdraw so that we just... You're doing a very important presentation. Let's not lose that. The Honorable Lady.
Chairman, let me withdraw to postpone it to a later date.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, proceed.
Chairman, have you looked at mobile termination rates? What conditions precedent did we give to the buyers? Conditions precedent, and as I'm repeating, is this, Chair. You want to sweeten the deal. In the markets, we say sweetening the deal. So that, okay, I'm selling this cow, but I'm also selling with the calf. You try to sweeten. So, the condition precedent we gave is actually bigger than what we are selling. So we lose money on one hand through CA, one on licenses, 5 of them, over 100 billion shillings. Secondly, on this other side, Chair, we are here